All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Cal's Man Cave. This is the spoiler review of 28 Days, Weeks, and Years Later. All three films. Um, I, let's just get into it. Let's just get in the deep dive, the big deepest. 28 days later. Uh, it's all about exploring humanity, survival, and what remains after civilization, after everything just collapses over this rage virus, aka zombies, pretty much. Right off the beginning, you have animal activists, trying to free chimpanzees. Kind of like this. This very first scene reminded me of Planet of the Apes, um, with I think it was the is it Rise of the Planet of the Apes I'm thinking of? Is that where they're freeing the monkeys and everything, where Caesar frees the monkeys? They had that kind of sense of feel, but with humans. And right off the bat, one of the scientists catches them, and they say, pretty much, fuck it, we're gonna release them anyways. He tells them they're all infected. He explains that they're infected with rage. Kind of like Resident Evil's T virus, that kind of concept, but they call it rage in this film. I don't know why. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, or if that's just how the writer and director kind of created it, or kind of gave it that sense of feeling. Um, anyways, one of the activists releases the monkey, and she gets bit, and she pretty much pukes out blood and just starts attacking everyone. It just kind of just starts from there. It's like that big, huge, cold opening to where, these, I'm going to say how it is, these fuckheads, these activists decide to say, hey, you know what? We care about these chimpanzees, and, but, we kind of just fucked over all of humanity almost, pretty much. Fast forward to 28 days later. It goes back to, like I was saying, but in the last video, it had that Resident Evil look with Mila, and to where she wakes up in a hospital. The actor Cillian Murphy, I think he was. I can't think. Last time I've seen him, I think he's Scarecrow from the Dark Knight trilogy. I think I could be wrong though. Anyways, his character's name is Jim. Wakes up in a hospital. Wakes up from a coma. He's a bicycle courier. I guess he got hit by a vehicle and it put him in a coma. And while he's in a coma, pretty much all this fucking bad shit happens. Shit goes batshit crazy. People start biting people. The infection spreads. Rage spreads to everyone. Everyone becomes zombies, or in this case, rage zombies. You see him wake up. He's butt ass naked. It is what it is. It doesn't really bother you much. It's not in your face. Like some people probably complain about nowadays. It's just there. He just woke up like that. Anyways, so he stumbles through the hospital. He grabs himself. First thing he grabs is a fucking Pepsi, which later on it kind of gives him like a migraine or a headache or something. So he's got to have more sugar. And they call that a caffeine headache, or sugar high, and you know what I mean. The dude's been in a coma, and that's like the first thing he consumes. I think he goes to a couple of vending machines and whatnot. As he leaves the hospital, he finds some money. At this point, money doesn't really matter, but he still takes it anyways. He because this is a spoiler version, there's one thing I can actually say is, as he's going through the city, when he's walking through the abandoned city, he sees all these kind of like memorials of all these dead people that passed away, like pictures and stuff hanging on a wall, or on posts and on poles and shit, or on buildings, etc., etc. And one of them that I noticed was a picture of a gentleman, and he is the doctor from the third film, from 28 years later. So that was one thing I did notice the second time around when I watched it. I didn't notice it the first time around. I didn't know it was going to even be relevant the first time around. It was kind of one of those things. I was just watching it just before the new one came out, that recently came out. And now that I noticed this on the second time around, on my first rewatch, that this doctor that's in that photo is in the third movie. And that doctor's pretty fucked up in the head. Let's just say it how I'm just gonna say it how it is. He's just fucked up in the head, like fucking nuts, dark, creepy, like yeah. But anyways, back to this one. So he is pretty much just trying to find his footing, find his grounding, I guess you could say. At this point, there's still no zombies yet, so he hasn't really seen him. But in the beginning, the zombies are, they're fast, they're rabid, they're like rabid animals. They're not undead, but they're just fast and rabid. You know what I mean? Which is interesting because in this film, if you get bit off the neck, or even in The Walking Dead or any other zombie movie, if you get bit in the neck and you're just bleeding all over, you're just dead. But in this sense, like if you get bit in the neck and you're bleeding, you're not dead. You just become like a rabid animal, and you just get up and continue to feed your hunger with pure aggression and whatnot. It was let's see. And then, like I said originally in the previous video, that is not your only danger. You also have to worry about humans because, oops, sorry, that was my phone. You also have to worry about humans because they're also a danger at this time too. And we kind of see that in The Walking Dead as well, to where, Rick and them have to deal with, I think his name's the governor, and then they had to deal with Negan. Like, zombies are not the only issue here. In this case, rage-infected zombies are not the only issue here. You have to also worry about the normal post-apocalyptic humans that are still surviving and are alive. Eventually, Jim gets to, I think it was like a gas station or something like that, and I'm trying to remember. So he gets to a gas station, and he meets two other characters. One of them is Selena. Another one, he doesn't really last long, so it was kind of irrelevant. He was trying to be funny, but it wasn't really that funny. They go and save him, and whatchamacallit, they go and save him. They make the gas station explode. Selena and the other gentleman go back. I think they're like in a mall or in a store or something, because you can tell like it's got that kind of like barricade kind of door, like in a mall or a shopping mall, like they used to have. I don't know if you guys even have malls open by you anymore. We used to. Minor tidbit. I just want to throw that in there. But anyways, so Selena and the other gentleman are talking to him and asking him, who are you? Where'd you come from? And then I think Selena was the only one that noticed that he said that she said that he's from the hospital. Obviously, he's a patient and not a nurse or a doctor or anything like that. And he kind of just opens up and says, hey, I'm a bike courier. I got ran over. I went to the coma and I woke up and this is where I'm at. The gentleman goes and said, the gentleman that's with Selena, then that ends up dying eventually. Just pretty much flats out tells him the situation, tells him they're zombies, pretty much everyone's dead. Society has collapsed, etc., etc. The island, I don't know why they refer it to an island, but pretty much Britain is been isolated from the world, quarantined ever since then. Jim goes and says, I want to go home, pretty much, and I want to see if my family is alive. Selena and the other gentleman agreed to take him. They take him to go to his parents' house. He finds them dead in the bedroom with a letter. Pretty much they took a whole bunch of pills and killed themselves instead of having to become zombies. Selena goes and says, that's kind of beautiful that they got to, they did that to themselves to where they didn't have to go and suffer like everyone else, which I understand. It makes sense, and I agree. Highly agree with that. It's like, I wouldn't want to become a zombie. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want my parents to become a zombie if they're older. You know what I mean? I don't know how old your guys' parents are. You know what I mean? If your parents are like, 70, 80, or you have grandparents that are like 70, 80, 90, honestly, I wouldn't want to put them through that. You know what I mean? So I agree with Selena, wholeheartedly. And, it was kind of beautiful silver lining out of that. Even though Jim's parents are dead, they didn't become zombies or get killed by zombies, or what I mean, stuff like that. So I mean, they had a silver lining to it. As the movie continues on, they have to crash there because it's getting darker, which I noticed that they don't really specifically say. If you guys watch this, correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't really specifically say in any of the movies why you do not go out at dark or don't go out at night. Like, I never really understood that. Like, I understand it from other videos and whatnot, where it's kind of hard to see. It's hard to, your senses are blocked and whatnot. I always understood it from the other TV series and other movies, but they don't really say it here. Like, usually there's a reason why you don't go out at night. You kind of get that little backstory or that little foundation, along with, you don't make a noise and you don't, do a fire, or you don't, have the lights on, or you don't do this. They didn't really specifically say why. I'm call me stupid for not not understanding or wanting to understand it, but it was kind of just not there. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, just don't go out at night. Oh yeah, we always go in twos. That was another thing. They Selena said, or we always grew up in twos, as if there was like other people, which kind of makes sense. You carry what you can, and you always have one person looking out for your back. If you have another person, that's, I hate to say it, but that's another mouth that you have to feed. It's another person you have to worry about, or you have to trust, and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways. Back to what I was saying, they have to crash at Jim's parents' house. Jim gets all crazy and he starts seeing visions and shit. Right? He starts seeing shit from the past life before he was in the hospital, and he saw his parents and they were making dinner, or his mom brought home groceries, etc., etc. And then he lights a candle, and this was one kind of indication of to where it makes sense, or kind of made sense, of don't travel at night. It was as soon as he lit the candle, zombies came in and attacked everyone. The guy who was with Selena, her duo, got bit in the arm, and she automatically, how do I put it, just fucking killed the guy. In most zombie stuff, you chop off the arm, but she just says that anyone who gets bit, within 10 to 20 seconds, they turn. And instead of chopping his arm off, she just straight up just butchers the guy. She literally just takes a machete and just fucking kills the guy. And she looked at Jim and said, you know what, if it happens to you, I won't hesitate. I will not hesitate to kill you. And, respect. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, obviously this is a different take, but in this actual setting and in these films, it makes sense. If you get bit in the arm, and if there's no way to, even if I chop off your arm and you still turn, not like how The Walking Dead is, or all the other films and TV shows, if I chop off a piece of your chop off your arm, if you get bit in the arm, or chop off your forearm, etc., etc., or your leg, or your hand, or whatever, if that doesn't prevent you from turning, then yeah, I'm gonna have to butcher you. gonna have to, beat the brakes off, and you're done. For my survivability and anyone else's that I do eventually see. So they have to leave Jim's place. Oh, I gotta fix my mic. So they eventually leave Jim's place, and as they leave, Jim has a different set of clothes now. He's no longer in the patient clothes. He's in his normal clothes. As they leave, they see an apartment complex. I assume an apartment complex. It could be like a hotel. Some apartment complexes and some hotels are just tall buildings like this one was. And they saw a whole bunch of Christmas lights. In this place, this is where we meet two new characters. So you meet, what was her name? Hannah and Hannah's dad. I don't remember the dad's name, but they see the lights. They go to the building. They get heard. I don't remember how they get heard. I forgot what kind of sound that they make. But obviously a whole bunch of zombies are chasing them up the stairs. Hannah's dad comes out in like kind of like SWAT body armor. Or like if there's like a riot or if there's stuff like that, like he's just fucking got a whole bunch of body armor out on him, and he prevents the zombies and stops the zombies from killing Jim and Selena. They're outside of Hannah and her dad's place, and they're trying to get in. Hannah doesn't let them in. Makes sense. She doesn't trust them. She doesn't know who the fuck these people are. Eventually, the dad catches up, says, "Hey, let them in," etc., etc. We get that nice little kind of like, oh shit, there's more people kind of, seeing, we should stick together kind of thing. And then, Hannah's dad goes and, shows them the roof where, they've been waiting for rain to get rain because there's no water. Pretty much, right, you shit in a bucket and, that kind of stuff. You don't have water to wash your face, shave, shower, hair. You don't have water for that. You don't have water for the toilet. You don't have water to cook food. It was pretty much like it's been a drought. So you get that little bit of tidbit. Then Hannah's dad shows them that there's a radio. On the radio, there's like a little transmission of survivors and their military, and they make like this plan that they are all four of them are gonna go. So they all agree to go together. I think it's for Hannah's sake, and also just for survivability, and to see if it's actually, if there's people still alive or not. You know what I mean? So we eventually get to the, I think it was like Block A Post 42, I think. I could be wrong. Don't yell at me. So they eventually get to where the transmission is coming through in the radio waves, and there's no one there. There's a zombie there that's hanging there. I assume it's dead. It's getting like eaten by a crow, and Hannah's dad's trying to get the crow off of him, off the dead body, just so he can like cut it. I assume trying to like bury it or something. I don't know, but a drip of blood goes in Hannah's eye, and he becomes a zombie. And it, obviously, you gotta kill the guy. You gotta kill Hannah's dad, which kind of sucks. And Selena told Jim to do it. Jim was kind of hesitant on doing it because he felt bad. And instead of Jim doing it, one of the soldiers from the makeshift military, of everything going on, kills the dad instead. Brings all three of them, Selena, Hannah, and Jim, to their base, which is just pretty much like I think it's like a manor. I think that's the proper name for it. But it's just pretty much a big ass house, a big ass estate, and the guy in charge is Major West, Christopher Eccleston. Oh shit! Oh, that's who I think. I did write it down. Sorry, my bad. Sidetrack. But the guy who was with Selena that got bitten by the arm, the character's name is Frank, and that is Brendan Gleeson. I did write it down. I'm sorry about that. I didn't write down who Hannah's dad is, but he has been in other major films. I can't think of what those films are at the moment, but if I see it in my notes, I will mention it. I don't remember who the actor who played Major was. I don't remember what films he's in, but he was in other films as well. And this is when we get the dangerous humans. No longer the dangerous zombies scenario, but this is the dangerous humans. And the first thing that you get the sense of is shit's about to go down, to where, the Major is telling his soldiers that, some of them are on the brink of committing suicide, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to find us some women so we can, repopulate and whatnot. And lo and behold, they find Selena and Hannah. Mind you, Hannah, I don't even think Hannah's not that old. She's underage. I don't even think she's 16. I don't know. That's the sense that I got. I think she's like between 14 and 15. So, like, that's pretty fucking dark, and you know what I mean? Like, that like I said in the non-spoiler review, like, this kind of went off the deep end. It didn't actually happen, which is I'm very happy for, but, it went off the fucking deep end. Like you were about to see some, dark fucking scenes if it did continue on down this, down, not slippery slope, but down this slope. The Major shows him around. They have a kind of like, in quotation mark, feast, but it ends up being ruined because the soldier that's their chef sucks at fucking making food. You see mines in the fields, you see barbed wire, you see fencing, you see machine guns, etc., etc. And because Jim doesn't agree to join in with the soldiers and his military men to repopulate with these two women that he has been surviving with and has been traveling with. He doesn't agree with it. Jim gets thrown out along with a sergeant. I forgot the sergeant's name. He pretty much thrown out as in, like, shot in the back like a dog. Like they did, or like a cow, like they did back in the day. You know what I mean? On your knees, and you get shot from the back of the head. Back in the days, it used to be because the animal was sick, or for whatever reason, or the animal was dying. In this case, it's just because you've been exiled and you're just gonna be kicked because you don't believe in our beliefs. Jim gets out. Jim frees the zombie that used to be a soldier. So that was one thing I forgot to mention, is when Major was showing them all around the mines and everything, and all the supplies and whatnot. I forgot to mention that the Major has one of his soldiers chained up that turned, because he wanted to see what would happen if they would die if they were starved for a certain point, for a certain amount of time. Jim frees that one. Jim saves Selena and Hannah by turning pretty much everyone there into zombies, or killing everyone there, and escape pretty much. And like I said in the previous review, in the non-spoiler, there was 3 different endings. The original ending was he was supposed to die because he gets shot. I don't remember if he dies from the gunshot wound or if he dies from turning into a zombie. In the theatrical version, he gets shot, but he lives because Selena and Hannah keep him alive, and because they're in that, state of quarantine, they hear like a jet fly by, and they take their curtains and blankets and everything and create like not like an SOS, but like a hello signal or symbol on the grass in the field, so the jet can see it when he flies by. And so you see like the 3 of them all excited, happy and whatnot.
that they are alive, and they were trying to get a little bit of excitement out of the post-apocalyptic society that they live in now. Like I said, there was a third ending. I don't remember what I'll have to look into it. Maybe I'll eventually find it. But from what I'm saying, there is a third ending. Um, if you guys know it, put it in the comments to help me out. But yeah, like I said in the previous video, this one was fast paced. Had a little bit of emotional weight. Had a lot of urgency, a lot of violence, inhumane. It had a lot of good things to it, especially like to be like the first of three or first of many. I enjoyed it. It was deep and dark and dark and deepest. You know what I mean? But yeah, highly recommend seeing that one. If you haven't seen it yet, it is on Pluto. Or if you have to, buy or rent it from somewhere, hopefully you can buy or rent it. When I previously looked, I couldn't buy or rent it before. All it is that currently, as of right now, when this video is recording on 7/13, it's on Pluto. I don't know how long it's gonna be on the Pluto app. It's a free app. It's got ads. It's like Tubi. I'm not sponsored or anything. I'm just saying it's on Pluto. You can watch it. You just have to tolerate the ads. I don't know if you can get rid of the ads by making an account and signing up. I don't know. I just didn't do that. I just didn't feel like doing that. I just wanted to watch it, or rewatch it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for 28 days later. Let's get into 28 weeks later. Hold on. Give me a second. If I have to edit this, I will. Sorry about that. Baby tossed and turned. Dropped her pacifier. Alright, 28 weeks later. As I said before, it's got its own story, it's got its own setting. It's, obviously a lot of time has passed. The quarantine has been going on, I think it's for like 6 months, I think, how they relate it. It's pretty much, I guess we'll just call it an island. The island is pretty much cut off from everything, but everything is continuing on in the world. Everything, as if nothing has changed. They even put that in the third movie, you know what I mean? Or life has moved on. Life is continuing. It's not really impacting them. It is what it is. At this point, you have Americans helping the quarantine and rebuilding and repopulating and whatnot, and protecting everyone, that the survivors that are alive. You do see Jeremy Renner. You do see who's Hawkeye. You do see Idris Elba. I think it's, is that how you say his name? I think that's how you say his name. Idris Elba or Ilba. Anyways, you see him. Last film I've seen him in was he was in the Suicide Squad, and he was in another one that he did with John Cena, which was funny and hilarious and action packed. Then you had, like I said, Jeremy, who's Hawkeye. That was the most, and then he was in Mission Impossible. Those are the most notable appearances that I saw. But yeah, let's get into it. So in the beginning, you have the survivors. I think it started around the same time that it was either right in the outbreak or like at the 28 days later out part of it. Like in the beginning, it started in the beginning. You know what I mean? You have all these survivors in this one house. Two older people. Let's call them like the grandparents. Then you have the main couple, which has one of the main characters, and then you have a girl who has her boyfriend that's out in the world right now looking for supplies, and then some random dude. out of the random dudes, he's the darker skin of all of them. I hate to put it like that, but it is how it is. I don't know what his nationality is, but he's just there. He's kind of a dick. Not of the grandparents, but of the couple, the main couple. The wife has two different color eyes, which is relevant to the story later on, and then the husband, who just is the main character for the time being, and eventually the main character till later on into the story. Let's see. Pretty much they're making food. I think they're making pasta or something. They find a little bit of wine. The older lady brings some chocolates, etc., etc. Then they hear a kid banging at the door. He's been banging at numerous doors because he's getting chased by his parents. He's getting chased by a whole bunch of fucking zombies, and they eventually let him in, and they shouldn't have. I hate to fucking say it how it is, but they should not have let the fucking kid inside the house. I hate to say it, but they fucked them all over. They're all dead, or they were all dead, or they were all killed. That's the assumption that you got when you first watched the movie, and pretty much it's the kid's fault. I hate to say it. It's just how I feel. If they didn't let that kid in, they would all have been somewhat alive. Because the kid would probably eventually run away. Anyways, the husband, as these zombies are coming in and killing everyone pretty much, the husband has an opportunity to save his wife and save the kid, but instead he doesn't, and he pushes out and he runs away. He finds the douchey character, and because he's on the boat and he's escaped, at the sacrifice of the two older people, the blonde chick who's the girlfriend of whatever boyfriend, she dies automatically, instantly. Those two are about to the dad and the douchey guy are about to escape, and instead the douchey guy gets killed, and the dad gets away on a boat. And the reason why I keep saying mom and dad is because they do while they're making they're talking about their kids. So I guess their kids were sent to a different school outside of Britain. From my understanding, they had been outside of Britain and at a different school as all of this has been happening. So before the outbreak, those kids were sent out, which, good for them. Kudos. Granted, they didn't know this was going to happen, but, good for them. Good for them that, they were able to get their kids out. Well, instead of them, ending up in this situation and setting that they're in right now. Sorry, I hit my e-cig. So, fast forward. It gives you that little subtitle, I guess you can call it, where it says 28 days later. Or, yeah. No. Let me think. I think. It either says 28 days later or 28 weeks later. But fast forward, we're in this isolated quarantine area where, you see Jeremy, you see Eldris, and they're the U.S. military, and they're protecting the survivors as they rebuild and repopulate. And the dad is there, and the dad is one of the employees, I guess. Clientele, whatever. You meet one of the other actors, I can't think of her name, but she's a doctor, and eventually they start letting not survivors, but relatives or friends to the survivors, they eventually start letting people back in, and the kids of the parents are they get tested and they get allowed back in. This is the first two children that are being brought back into this quarantine society. You eventually see the son, who has two different color eyes like the mom does, and they meet up with the dad, and the dad goes and says, hey, he doesn't really tell them the full story. He gives them like the vague half-ass pity story of, I saw your mom get bit. He didn't really tell them that he just fucking ditched her, for his own, for his own personal survivability and his own personal causes. Let's see. The dad's name is Don. He's played by Robert Carlyle. Let me get that out of the way. And the mom's name is Alice. Her name is Catherine McCormick. The mom, like I said, Alice is the one that he ditches. So Don ditches Alice. Let's see. Don's children, Tammy and Andy. Just so you guys know, for setting wise, what these characters' names are from this point on. And in the safe zone, we'll call it, led by the U.S. military, is called District 1 of London. Eventually, let's get back to the story. So eventually, after the kids have been cleared, they're in. They meet up with the dad. They talk with the dad. They escape District 1. Jeremy Renner notices it. I don't remember the character's name of Jerry Renner. His name is Sergeant Doyle. There we go. Oh, and the doctor that's going over the patients, I think her name, not the actor's name. Oh, wait. I think her name is Major Scarlet. And I think the actor's name is Rose Byrne or Byrne. So those two are two pinnacle characters, Doyle and Scarlet. Sergeant Doyle, aka Jeremy Renner, Mr. Renner, notices that the kids are out, so the pups are out. He calls them. The pups are out in the wild. And they follow. The kids eventually get to their home because the son, Andy, wants to get. He doesn't remember what his mom looks like and doesn't want to forget what his mom looks like. So they go there to get some clothes and supplies and to get a picture of their mom. As they're there, they find their mom. They find Alice, and this is out. She's not a zombie. But she has been bit. And the military catches up with them and brings them all back to base. And Major Scarlet finds out that Alice is I can't say it. Is it asymptomatic? Is not symptom, but asymptom. To where she's like a vaccine, pretty much. Asymptomatic. I can't. For the life of me, I can't pronounce it. I'm just dumb. I give up. And so she's chained up after she's been tested. Her blood's been tested, and to where, she could be the vaccine. Don, the husband, eventually goes sees the wife, and the way that Major Scarlet was explaining is that she's like a type of patient to where she's a carrier, but she also could be the vaccine. So if she were to bleed on you or any type of saliva, not really breathe on you, but if she bleeds or pretty much kisses Don in this scene, you become a zombie. Hold on. Okay, she's still good. So the husband becomes a zombie. Then you have another outbreak, pretty much. And as I said in the previous review, this is where you start questioning human morality, human choices, Idris Elba, the big man in charge, is saying, kill the zombies and isolate the zombies, but it eventually becomes, he just, kill everyone. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to play God and who lives and who dies, pretty much.
And yeah, it's pretty dark in that sense. You know what I mean? Not just in this, like you were dark from the Dawn thing of like ditching Alice, but now you're dark on who, like just kill everyone inside, even if it's your own men, because you don't want the outbreak to spread. And so, yeah, it's pretty fucked up in that sense. Um, as we continue on with the story, the Doyle, Major Scarlet, and the two kids get out eventually, and Doyle is trying to in contact with the helicopter driver or helicopter pilot, and they're trying to get an escape plan for the kids. Like if the mom is a cure, maybe one of the kids are, or maybe both of the kids are, and they have a way of making the vaccine and whatnot. So Scarlet's trying to save the kids at least, like even at the cost of themselves, and that's actually what happens. Sergeant Doyle, or Jeremy Renner, ends up dying. He sacrifices himself so the kids and Scarlet can get away, and then they end up in the subway. Oh, sidebar. One thing that I remember from the first film is, they're trying to travel to the military base, and they go underneath in this tunnel in London or whatever, and like the first thing Jim says to the dad, to Frank, not to Frank, but to Hannah's dad, he's like, this is a bad idea. We should not be going through these tunnels because we don't know what's down there. Same thing with the subway. They don't know what the fuck's down there. And what happens to the Jim and all of them is that they get a flat tire and a whole bunch of zombies show up, and they get like out, by luck. But in this one, Scarlet dies. Scarlet gets killed by Don, the zombie, who's been chasing the kids this whole entire time and trying to get to the kids this whole entire time. Which is like, that was like the dumbest thing in the fucking world. It's like Jim flat out says, do not go down there. It's the dumbest thing in the world. And even for Scarlet to even decide that, it's like that's like rule number one: don't go down dark alleys and dark tunnels and where you into the unknown, because that's like the dumbest decision in the world, because either you're gonna die or you're all gonna die, and etc., etc. And what, like I said, Scarlet dies. She's looking through this night vision scope on her weapon, and that makes all of them fall down the stairs and get separated. And Don ends up biting his son Andy, who doesn't get affected by the virus because he's related to his mom, and he has a way to become the vaccine like his mom did. And the daughter, what was the daughter's name? I think it was Tammy. Tammy ends up killing her dad, and then they eventually get out. I think they get on the helicopter. They eventually meet up with Doyle's friend, the helicopter pilot, and they get out, and they live. And then there's like a little cut scene at the end where there's like a whole bunch of zombies and whatnot, which is like very vague kind of ending. It's not even a cliffhanger, but they leave it open for more. Hopefully, I'm hoping Andy and Tammy survive, and they make a vaccine eventually. But yeah, I mean, out of the two, between the two of those, I like the first film more. This one was kind of like, there was kind of like a whole bunch of fucked up things going on, but this one was a weaker of the two, slower pace of the two films, and not really just much there. It was just there pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. 28 weeks later, let's get into 28 years later. This is the final one of the three, and don't want to, hopefully we don't take up too much more time. Let me fast forward to my notes, because this one has got a lot to it. Let's see. All right. 20 years later. Who's the actor?
Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was played, I think he played Craven in Craven the Hunter, and he was also Kick-Ass, and he was also in a couple other big movies that I remember. He's in this. Spike, his 12-year-old son, is Alfie Williams, and then Isla, Jodie Comer. So those are like your three major characters in this one. They're actually on an island to where when the tide is up, you can't get to the island. Like the tide will carry you over. If you try to swim across, you'll get lost in sea/ocean. Pretty much we're at that state where there's no more weapons. There's zombies, or in this film they call them lows or some weird shit like that. Slow-mos or some, I don't know. They had like a weird name for it. Let me see. I know there's alphas. We have no longer any like fast-paced zombies. I'll find it eventually. Anyways, so in this film, it opens up with this family. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a family of 5 to 8 kids, all blonde-haired, and one of them's name is Jimmy Crystal, who pretty much witnesses his family get slaughtered during the beginning of the apocalypse, or the beginning of the virus outbreak, we'll call it, before he leaves. And before he leaves, he meets up with his father, who gives him a crucifix, which, spoiler alert, we see him again at the end. And his father's all weird and he's mentally out there, and he pretty much sacrifices himself in the name of God, but also, so his son can get out and survive. Fast forward, the year is 2030. This is when we meet Jamie, who plays by Aaron Taylor Johnson, Isla, and Spike. Isla is suffering from a mental illness. I think she has Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the two. That's the assumption that you feel like she has. She actually has cancer. She has a tumor in her head. This is based on what the doctor told them. And this, like I said before, this is the doctor from the very first film. There's like a little photo of him that's circled. It's that doctor. This doctor in this film, who's older now, who's fucking fucked up in the head and fucking crazy and nuts and dark, and this doctor tells her she's got cancer. We find out later on in the film. So it shows that there's like this small society on this island. They don't have guns anymore, but they leave the island. They get wood. They make arrows. They make bows. They go out and leave this island to get supplies and whatnot. And on this island, there's a rule to where when you come of age, between ages 14 and 15, you get taken out into the wild. And one thing that I noticed is the rule of two comes back to where, like Selena said with in the first movie, is that we travel in twos. So this minor tidbit comes back onto this island and onto this scenario and setting to where Jamie and his son Spike go out into what's called the wild, or the mainland, and do the coming of age kind of thing to where this is how you become a man. You go out there and you get your first kill. You kill a zombie, pretty much. That's what it was. But in this instance, Spike is 12. So instead of doing it around ages 14, 15, they're doing it around age 12 for Spike, because his dad feels like he's ready for it. He's prepared for it. There was a couple things that, we'll call her the elder. The elder lady goes and says that, always travel during the day. She mentions, like the father does, Jamie does, to where you travel during the day, so the low tide, so you can get across the nature-made bridges is created, not man-made, but nature-made bridges there so they can get back to the island. If for some odd reason you leave the island on your own accord, no one is allowed to go out there and save you. So let's say if I was Spike and I said, fuck, tired of living here after getting my coming of age kind of ceremony, like going there and coming back and killing my zombie and coming back. If I decide I want to live out in the wild from that point on, or live on the mainland from that point on, I can choose to do that, and no one can come and save me. So if I am in danger, I'm pretty much on my own. That's what that meant. Anyways, so Jamie and Spike go and do their thing. Really intense scenes. This is when the zombies come in. This is, you get they call them the slow-mos, I think they're called. But you see, like, the fat ones, they're kind of, like, wet and greasy and moist, and, they're fucking slow. They crawl. He kills one of those. Then you actually see, like, one of the alphas, I think, in this film, and he kind of just stands there, like, menacing, by this tree, and he just stares and watches this whole time. I don't know if it's the main alpha, but it is, like, one of the alphas, and it was just menacing. It was just dark and creepy, and it gave you that sense of fear the whole time, as, like, as Jamie and Spike are getting, like, pretty much attacked by zombies, because they just get, like, bombarded by, like, a horde of them, like a small horde, not like a major horde, but like a small one. So you go through that. Spike, kind of freaks out after he gets his first kill on the slow-mo, but freaks out on the faster ones and doesn't get a kill on one of those. I think around this time, you see, I could be wrong, but around this time you see one of the zombies is pregnant, which is astonishing. I hate to say it's astonishing, but it's there. I thought it was like a dead zombie. You know what I mean? No, it's not. Spoiler, it's not. And they get stuck out in the mainland at nighttime. They're, like, in this attic. They see a bonfire from a distance away. It's the doctor, the fucked up in the head doctor, and, like, kind of they do show, like, a flashback later on when they get back, but pretty much this doctor is just fucked up in the head to where he, like, goes out and grabs dead bodies and, like, does experiments on them. That's what they originally show, or kind of set it out to what he is. You get to know him a little bit more, but this is what the island or the town that they kind of, like, insinuate and say, hey, he's a fucked up doctor. Or, like, even Jamie says he's a fucked up doctor. He just brings dead bodies, and there's a whole bunch of dead bodies laying around, and he looks like he's doing experiments and shit. That's kind of what they insinuate and kind of, force into your thought process. They get back at night, and the tide is still a little bit high, but it's enough to where they can run across it, if that makes sense. And as they're getting back, this is after they talk about the doctor and they're in the attic, but the building that they're in, or the house that they're in, kind of crumbles down and breaks down because the horde, like the vibrations, it was kind of like an earthquake kind of sense, to where, like, it breaks the building down. The building is like fucking trash. It's on its last leg. So that happens, and that's because the alpha that's menacingly standing there watching them from distance by the tree is going to come in and attack them and chase after them. And that's when you end up to where, at the slightly low tide for them to cross to get back into the island. And they, you get back into that scene. So they're running and they're running and they're running and they're getting chased. And this alpha is just fucking creepy looking. He's fucking deadly, menacing. And they eventually get across, but they almost fucking died. Like, you had that sense of, like, oh fuck, they are dead. Obviously, the townsmen, the Watchtower people, save them with their defenses and whatnot. They get inside, they party, they celebrate. He's done with his come of age test per se. He's a man now. You see Jamie, the dad, celebrate, make a speech, etc., etc. But you see Jamie, Spike sees Jamie, his dad, cheat on his mom, which, in hindsight, I get why Jamie did it, is because his wife is just mentally fucked in the head and nuts. She's on her last leg as well. She's, she's dying pretty much. You know what I mean? So, in hindsight, I hate to say it, but on to the next one. This is about, repopulating. This is about keeping the society alive. Etc., etc. But Spike doesn't see it that way, and Spike makes the executive decision. After he goes back home, he goes and talks to one of the gentlemen that is watching his mom, and he hears more about the doctor, and he makes the executive decision of taking his mom to the doctor after hearing what the doctor does from someone else's point of view. And to see if the doctor can even save her. And so I think it's like the next day he sneaks out with his mom after he's pissed off at his dad. He literally screams at his dad. He's pissed off. He takes his mom out onto the wild. Eventually find the doctor. Before they find the doctor, they find the pregnant zombie, and she's about to give birth, and she's on the train. Oh, actually, let's backtrack a little bit. So during all this, there's actually French, kind of like quarantine police officers or quarantine patrol. I don't know how to explain it, but as all of this is going on, they were on a boat doing patrol, and their boat or something happens, and they end up getting stuck on the in London and whatnot, and they actually meet the main alpha, and the main alpha fucks all of them up with one. And before Spike and them meet the doctor, and before they meet the pregnant zombie, they meet this French quarantine patrolman, one of the last survivors, and he shows him his phone. He's talking about the outside world, and this is when you discover that the outside world is continuing on as we are right now. Like, what I mean is, there's cell phones, there's social media, there's this, and then life has continued on. London and Britain is the only place that is fucked. Once you land on that island, you are not allowed to get off that island. You're not allowed to leave the quarantine area. But life has continued on outside of this world. Because even Spike was like, "What is that? What is that?" And the French kid is like, "Oh, this is a cell phone. These are photos." Showing him photos on his phone. And you get that sense of he's got no phone service. He mentions that too, but you get that sense of life has continued on. They don't really give a fuck about people on this quarantine area anymore. Anyways, so you have Spike, Isla, Spike's mom, this French kid, and they see the pregnant zombie, and it was a very touching, emotional moment to where you actually didn't see the zombie try to kill them. At first it was kind of giving you that it's trying to create a nest so it can give birth, but then Isla is helping the zombie give birth, and the baby is not infected, and it's not infected. And you get this intimate moment between zombie and human, to where the human's there to help the zombie, and the zombie accepts her help, to give birth to this child, and the mother goes unconscious, kind of, and then she wakes up, and then like she scares the French kid, and the French kid kills the zombie, that kills the mother. So Spike's mom are stuck with this newborn baby that's not infected, that's not a zombie. Two zombies made a non-zombie baby. It's fucking crazy. But then the main alpha that is the father of that baby hears the crying and everything, and sees the dead body of his, we'll call it zombie wife, kills the fucking French kid, and starts chasing Spike and Spike's mom all the way until the doctor saves them. And the creepy fucked in the head doctor, and you see like this kind of like statue or monument of all these skulls and shit. You see like all these little towers of bones and shit, and it gives you that sense of like how fucked up in the head he is. But it's kind of like like a bliss moment. Like he's took all the bodies that you heard stories about him about, that are laying around in the flashbacks, but you was just pretty much, killing them or experimenting on them, and then kind of just burning them, and then making statues and monuments of them. And this is the part where you find out that, Isla, Spike's mom has cancer, and there's no saving her, and she tells Spike to take care of the baby and always to remember love or something like that. And I think it was Memento Mori, Memento Amoris. I think that's what it was. And it was the doctor's name is Kelson. So Kelson's Bone Temple, or Bone Shrine. That's what I put it down as. But Memento Mori, Memento Amoris is remember you must die, remember you must love. And that was something that mom kind of relays to Spike and to the baby. And the doctor kind of kills, kind of like how Jim's parents killed themselves so they didn't have to deal with this anymore. But the doctor kills the mom so she doesn't have to suffer anymore. So she doesn't continue to suffer anymore and have to live in where they are at right now, which was kind of a beautiful moment where you got to see that and experience that. But as we fast forward just a wee bit, the Alpha attacks them, and the doctor sacrifices himself so Spike and the baby can get away. Spike takes the baby back to the island, or his homeland, or whatever we want to call it, and pretty much leaves a letter to his dad saying, this is don't kill this baby. She was born from a zombie, I think that's what the note said, or something like that, or in the sense of that. And it's not the baby's fault that she was born from zombies, but she's not infected, so don't take it out on her and don't kill her. Just take care of her, pretty much. And pretty much in the note he says, I'm not coming back, and when it's time for me to come back, I will. And he goes back into the wild, and we get into the cliffhanger part of things, and I think it says like 28 days later after that, and this is when you get the character from the beginning. What's his name? I said it earlier. Jimmy. I think he changes his name later on. But the Jimmy in the beginning, where the little boy that you saw his family die, I don't know if the exact same family comes back, like his brothers and sisters, but you get that sense of feeling of like it is them. Like some of them did survive, but if Jimmy kind of saves Spike, I guess you could say, and leaves like a giant cliffhanger at the end, to where it ends a trilogy, but also kind of like not really ends a trilogy, but leaves it more for more to come. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. It leaves it for, let's say if this is the end of the trilogy, it leaves it open for another trilogy, or let's just say this is the beginning of a trilogy, it leaves it open for the next two, or whatever, etc., etc. You guys get what I'm saying. So let's say, however you want to look at it, it leaves it open, leaves it with a giant cliffhanger, And Spike meets Jimmy from the beginning of the film, and he tells him join us and shit like that. So, like I said before in the non-spoiler review, like this was groundbreaking film, and I recommend you seeing it. There was a lot of memorable moments and like what the fuck scenes, just mind-boggling, and like how it just the journey that it takes you and the roller coaster that it takes you on, and it was like a great way to depict how things evolved and changed over time from the original film till now. As I said, it was very even took took you on an emotional roller coaster between the pregnant zombie and the death of the mother. Like it was a lot. It was a lot, and it left you wanting more. And as I said in the non-spoiler review, I recommend you see this, or even spend whatever the dollar to buy it. It was, in my personal opinion, it was a great film. And I wanted more, and I want to see more, and I hope there is more. I know there's talks of them being more. I know that there is more lore. Not more, but lore. There is more lore to the story. Like, there's a couple comics. Like, if anyone does know of those comics or has those comics, let me know. And maybe I'll figure out a way to, you can either scan them to me or send them to me, and I'll do reviews on those too. Like the lore is there, and I wouldn't mind learning more about it. Or if they even build off making a comic based on this film, or leading up to this film, or like a sequel to this film. Like if you guys find out news about it, then let me know. You know what I mean? Because I want more of it. The alpha's alive, the baby's alive, Spike is alive. You know what I mean? You want to know what happens to all of it, for sure. That's where I'm at. And I hope that's where it leaves you at. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, out of all three of them, this is the best. So in my personal ranking, it's 28 years later, 28 days later, and then 28 weeks later, from 1, 2, 3. Best to worst. Like I say, if I had the time and if it was out on DVD or on streaming or Amazon, whatever, I would buy it and watch it again. That's how good it was. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much it. That's all I have for all the review. I know this is probably the longest episode that we've had so far, but it was worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey on and joining me in this review or in this episode. Podcast episode. Hope to see you guys, speak to you guys soon. I do have some plans of hopefully doing the Superman 2025 review. I'm waiting to find out if I can plan it with a friend and do like a review. Maybe I'll do like a non-spoiler by myself, and then like a spoiler, just me and him, just hash out every little detail, because there's a lot to that one, and goods and bads that I would like to go over. So, but yeah, this is this review. It was a lot, but I appreciate you guys. If you watch the whole thing, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the likes and the comments that you guys leave for me if you do leave them. But that's it. Like I said, hope to speak to you guys and see you guys soon. Peace.